Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Julie Bryant-Fisher. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at TAG, and I'm joined today by Laura Gibson, the U.S. Director of Operations for Featurespace. Laura, thanks for coming on with us today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you. So let's dive right into Featurespace, because folks may not know of the cool story that Featurespace has, right?
Yeah.
So you guys came over to us from the UK.
Yes.
So talk to us about Featurespace's story.
Yeah, it's an exciting one, as you mentioned. Starting off our technology at Cambridge University, Dave Excel developed this machine learning platform there. And it's exciting to see how the advancement of machine learning and advanced analytics, but applied to the use case of fraud detection and risk prevention, focusing on gaming in the UK, which is an area not as mature in the US, but it took off like wildfire. And we started to get into the area of banking and financial services early on. And the thought of expanding the business into the US came about through the successes that we had early on.
So I hear you guys, the first machine learning company in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
That's
yes.
a big deal.
It is exciting, which has been able to catapult us as far as winning deals and business here in the US. We've seen a lot of encouraging conversations with our existing clients around, furthering and deepening our relationships with payment processors like TSYS and WorldPay, which has been really good for us. And we're starting to expand into the US and other markets as well.
So for those folks who don't know, let's get into what is it that you all do? Because everyone hears machine learning and they think robots and they're not sure. You all have taken machine learning and applied it to the financial industry in helping to prevent and detect fraud and crime, right?
Yes.
Financial crime.
Yes.
How does that work? So what's sort of the back end, a little bit of the kind of platform that you all have that can help do this?
Yeah, I get asked the question, is it something that you can actually feel, see, and touch? And it is. It's a living, breathing platform. The machine learning aspect of things is leveraging our existing customers' data. So we work primarily with financial institutions and banks and payment processors, but they've taken the route of installing that platform on-prem. We use all of the data to then detect anomalies in customers' behaviors, so we can detect if there's an account takeover situation or a transaction that is flagged for fraud or is a riskier transaction. And a lot of the machine learning capability is where it self-learns based on looking at that data over time. So is this particular transaction coming from a foreign country when the financial entity was not aware of it? Could be an indicator to say, this might be something that we should look into for fraud.
Wow.
If there's an account being applied for that's a duplicate of another application, it's an anomaly that might need to be addressed and put into a queue for someone to actually do deeper research. And our goal is to make sure that the customer experience is as frictionless as possible, but then also make sure we catch and prevent that fraud from happening as well.
So that's an incredible benefit to your clients. So you're primarily in the banking industry, helping banking clients. And so walk me through an example of how they might come to you with an issue and you're able to say, we've got you, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think one of the trends that we're seeing right now is there being so many different sources of fraud. There's fraudulent transactions that are occurring out in the industry based on people having access to personal information and data. The data is out there. There's been lots of breaches and whatnot. And so there's a way to kind of more mature the models that we're applying against the data to say this is exactly the formula for how we're applying to detect fraud. And looking at industry information around the riskiness of a transaction, and either if the transaction came in through a phone and biometrics data is attached to it, can we look at that? Can we look at a particular merchant that might have had a data breach, and we know all of that card data is out there, and so there might be a higher probability that if someone's coming in with that particular card number, that it could be, fraud. And so we not only offer the tools, we also offer the expertise, and we have a full suite of expertise in our Atlanta office that can sit with our clients side by side and kind of mature the operations around the tool, because it's very much something that internally at these banks and financial institutions, they have to operationalize and develop processes and provide the best customer service to the customer.
Sure.
And so we just provide that mechanism to support them in doing that.
So you're literally on the back end saving customers and your clients from fraud and essentially cybercrime.
Yes.
So
because everyone's, in the end of the day, everyone is impacted. The customer is impacted. There might be the headache of this transaction couldn't clear. That's a horrible situation to be when you're trying to make a purchase at a grocery store and you can't buy groceries. On the other side, we're also protecting the merchant and the person that actually is responsible for the transaction and for the money. And at the end of the day, they take a hit as well as the customer. So protecting all parties involved is pretty much what we do.
I don't think there's one of us that hasn't experienced this, right? Whether we were standing at the grocery store or Target and something came up, some alert happened or something. And so all of us are wondering, where's this coming from? What next? How do I protect myself? From your vantage point, what are the trends that you all are seeing in terms of financial fraud and crime that's related to breaches and ways that folks are able to hack in? What are the trends that you're seeing that we're all so curious to know about?
Yeah, it's interesting to see how in this day and age where there has been so many data breaches, and the trustworthiness of where you're giving your data to is sometimes in question. People still have a habit of just blindly giving their data to anyone. So I would first say it's really important to know who you're giving that data to. If you're registering online and creating a new account or storing your payment information somewhere, make sure that it's a safe and verified provider. And then another thing is when you're, leveraging channels like mobile, and you see a lot of mobile pay and mobile applications are more frequently used. Just consider, where you're doing those transactions and how. There's a lot of security and advancement around that space, which we're able to actually now adapt, to use that word, but adapt and utilize within our platform and our models. So we've been looking at, just behaviors for clients. So our customers, are they tending to log in at a certain time of day? Are they, making transactions over a certain threshold? And kind of use those indicators to kind of offset some of the more frequent mobile behaviors. But I would say those two areas are kind of the biggest priority for us to focus on to combat fraud.
Right. Mm-hmm. Which puts you guys in a unique position. So let's talk a little bit more about what makes Featurespace special. So you all have a really interesting story. You came to Atlanta as the first machine learning company. You've got this engaging platform. You're out fighting cybercrime. What are the other differentiators and things that set you apart?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, and it's funny because I usually go to the technical side of things, but being a British-owned company, we focus so much on providing customer service, customer support first. We put our customers first, and we want to not only manage the technical implementation, but the day-to-day, interactions with our customers. The second thing I would say is the technology. So not only because we have, the history that we have within machine learning and artificial intelligence, we also have the invested interest in maturing it over time. So we've been, constantly feeding and developing, enhancing our products. We've been looking at those new industry trends and assessing better ways to improve upon the models that we provide. And we pretty much custom fit and tailor a lot of the modeling and the performance of those models with our clients based on our clients' needs. A lot of it is geared towards risk appetite for some of these financial institutions. Those that, want to balance the impact to their operations and to their staff, and then also provide that best customer interaction without any type of friction for the customer. We consult with our clients around how we can better manage that and provide an optimal result.
That's great. Let's talk about you for a second. So,
I love talking about me.
All right, let's do it. So you came on in January.
Yes.
I'm always curious, what would drive a person to arrive at this position as U.S. Director of Operations for a company that's machine learning, working on, fraudulent prevention and all these exciting things that are so important to us right now? How did you get here?
Yeah.
Where'd you come from?
I would say this is, uncharted territory for me, and my background primarily being in banking, and I worked previously for Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Wachovia, and Ally. And over the years, you kind of get to the point where you're looking for a new, exciting career change. And everything had prepared me for this moment with Featurespace. It was the perfect timing to come in and be a generalist and kind of focus on all aspects of the business. I had a very extensive technology background, but getting into, the resource management, human resources, caring for some of the softer side of just operating an office. We're right in Midtown in the Bank of America Plaza building, which is exciting. I moved from Charlotte for this job, and so relocating has been an exciting journey.
Welcome to Atlanta.
I know, thank you. It's been, one of those things where just being a part of something that's just has momentum and it's growing and we're, expanding so quickly in the U.S., it's hard not to want to be involved and be a part of it. And so I say that with also the additional comment that, while we continue to grow, we're still looking for good quality people. And we have affiliation. Obviously, we've leveraged TAG and our wonderful relationship there. Georgia Tech being right next door to us as well. And, we're looking for resources across the board, from some of the technical roles to some of the more business product side of things. So definitely check out our website for that information.
Excellent. We'll include that in the video too. Yeah, when we promote this. So let's talk about Horizon then. So a little bit about what you see in terms of your vision for the position and the things you're going to be doing with Featurespace, and then what's ahead for the company itself.
Yeah, I think there's multiple channels when it comes to what we have strategically for the future. The first one is really around, winning deals and getting business, and we've seen a lot of progress made there. And now I'm catching up from an operational perspective in recruiting, hiring resources, being able to prepare for the work that's to come as we continue to grow so quickly. And then the third one is around the product. So there are unique requirements and needs for our customers here in the U.S. than we had in the U.K. So looking at where we can advance ourselves within the industry and continue to provide that best-in-class service for our customers, and take it the extra level where we're starting to predict some of the bad behaviors and the trends that I spoke about, and mature our platform, anticipating the evolving needs of the financial industry as technology continues to advance. And it's interesting to see the focus on the digital service for most of these financial institutions. We're going to have to continue to keep with that pace. And so those three aspects, I think, are the most important for us.
Which is exciting. It's an exciting field too. Financial technology, fintech, as everyone's calling it, has just grown by leaps and bounds, and certainly here in Georgia and Atlanta, right? So we are a true global fintech hub. You all were with us for our big FinTech South event.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun, right?
Yeah,
I think we get into those rooms and you look around. I mean, we were talking about 1,400 plus people at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yeah. And you look around and you're like, wow, fintech. to me a little bit about your perspective on the fintech industry. Why is it growing so fast? Or
Yeah.
what can you say in terms of observations about fintech
I think
itself?
fintech is so exciting because it's one of those areas where you can leverage technology faster and quicker than you could just building it yourself. So where I've seen success in the fintech world is the partnership aspect of things. So coming in, only being 6 months at Featurespace, I've already seen new relationships and partnerships that we've been able to formulate, leveraging data sources. I mentioned earlier how important the data is to us. You have all of these companies that are standing up, catching that biometrics data, data for various channels, mobile applications and whatnot, and all of those kind of feed the database of which we're talking about, identifying and maturing the ability to catch fraud. And so in the fintech community, there's almost a competitive edge, but then more of a collaborative, knowledge sharing type of environment that I haven't seen in my past working for large, Fortune 500, banks. So it's a very unique twist. In the Atlanta fintech community, I think it's even more interesting because...
How so?
Yeah, because there's been opportunities for me to really network and kind of build relationships.
Nice. Where
I've experienced that fintech community that's been a little bit more competitive and resistant to at least evaluating and assessing opportunities with each other.
Yeah.
And so in my transition down to Atlanta, it's been one of those things where a partnership could be as simple as we're going to partner on speaking about fraud topics and trends together.
Nice.
And then it could also stem into we're going to actually work together. You know what I mean? I could be a reseller of your product,
Nice.
When it comes to clients. So there's lots of opportunities that I feel like I've witnessed while I've been in Atlanta that I haven't really seen anywhere else. So it's been quite impressive.
So you feel like that collaborative spirit really drives the innovation, the ability for companies to grow and expand?
Because innovation, I mean, the more brains that you have at the table, the easier it is to quickly identify some of these solutions. And sometimes multiple parallel solutions can kind of create and foster a better result at the end. And so it's almost understanding where we can kind of leverage certain accomplishments. One fintech's already been there, done that.
Right.
No need to solve that again, but we can leverage that to enhance our offering for our customer. And so it's one of those opportunities to really, put that on the table and talk about it.
So as people are listening, are there any takeaways? You touched on this a little bit before. Takeaways for potential clients or even consumers that you like to tell people? You talked about protecting data, but what are some of the other things you always offer up to folks when they ask you, what do I do? How do I protect myself? How do I protect my company?
Yeah, and protecting the company is the best thing. And not to put a sales pitch in there, but I would say look at our product. Our product is one of the strongest in the market. As we continue to have conversations with a lot of the larger financial institutions, there's really an opportunity to mature the fraud space. Unfortunately, operations is typically an afterthought when it comes to some of these banks. They're thinking, I want to get this digital technology out there to the customer in the customer's hands. But sometimes taking a look at what does that mean from a risk perspective for the company is in its best interest, but then also optimizing resources and the cost and the overhead to the financial institution can somewhat be solved for by considering a strong fraud solution in the mix. And so I would say take a look at Featurespace, Featurespace.com,
exactly.
for more information. But yeah, definitely, reach out, mention it, talk about it within your organization, and evaluate if it's the right time.
Well, let's take this to a more serious level. So it's a UK-based company that's come over here. You were telling me earlier that high tea is often served.
High tea, yes.
And that there's a very serious debate that goes on there in the office. This has to do with scones and how to eat them.
Yes.
Okay, so we want to hear from you. Do you do the clotted cream first or the jam?
You definitely do the jam first. The scone will be torn to shreds if you put the clotted cream. I feel like it's simple for most people. Like if you just, do a couple of trial runs, you'll see it's the clotted cream after the jam. The jam is the best foundation.
Okay. So that settles that debate.
Yes.
No more arguments there. And
No
then
more.
for tea, we got to put the milk in the tea, right?
Yes, you gotta have
Okay.
milk in the tea, and yes, clotted cream on top of the jam. But I have all of that under, down. So it's funny because every single time I talk with my British colleagues, we have this debate. But yeah, I think I need to end it by demoing the scone.
We need to do that.
Yeah,
All right, we're going to
definitely.
do the next time we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Then. In the meantime, it's been lovely to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Well,
It's been great
thank
to be here.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, and congratulations to Featurespace and all of your continued success.
Thank you so much.